that we're sort of introducing is the ability to manage the backups through a web browser. And so let's look very quickly at what this kind of is based off of. So if I bring a browser over to my screen, you'll see that I'm on the website console.retrospect.com. So from console.retrospect.com, I can view not only a single backup server, but I can manage or view multiple backup servers. So this panel on the far left side, it represents all these different backup servers that I happen to be managing with my copy of Retrospect. Now, a lot of you may only have one backup server, and that's fine. We're going to narrow down and show what that looks like. But in general, I have a lot of different panels where I can view my proactive backup scripts. I can view some granular information about specific backup reports. I can look at individual backups over here in this panel. It'll show me different days, what was backed up on certain days. I can view most recent backups, how many days it's been since certain machines were backed up. Here's one that was backed up, about a day ago. Here's some that are 17 days ago. And so we have different information. Here's machines that have not been backed up in the last 7 days. And there's a lot because this is a test environment that we're demoing. We have storage maps that will show information about storage utilization and how much total storage you have online for all your different backup servers. Just a different view of storage or the different disks that belong to different backup servers. Storage predictions, what you have today, what we think you're going to have next week versus next month. And if I scroll down here, I think those are the main windows over there. And then we've added, in this latest version, we've added some additional buttons up here at the top. So we have, right now we're in what we call the dashboard. I can go to a past activities view. The past activities view gives me a table that shows me the different backup servers and then shows me and it's still loading because there's so much of it. It shows me different disks that belong to those backup servers. Scroll up here. I can see sources, I can see destinations, scripts, the number of files that were copied, files remaining, gigabytes or bytes remaining, error codes, that sort of thing. Under the past activities, under sources, I can view a different backup server and the listing of sources that belong to those backup servers. I can view the media sets that belong to these different backup servers or backup sets that belong to the backup servers. So there's a lot of granularity that we've gained in Retrospect 16.5 through this management console. So I'm going to go back to this dashboard real quick. And I'm going to scroll down over here on the side, and I'm going to go to my actual backup server. This window represents the backup server that's hiding over here behind us. And I can see specifically information that relates to my copy of Retrospect. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to show what this looks like in real time when a backup runs. So I'm going to go to Automate, I'm going to go to Proactive Backup, and I'm going to create a new script. I'm going to call this, let's see, Robin's demo script. And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to go to Sources, and I can pick any of my sources. They could be local disks. It could be a NAS device. It could be client machines out on the network. But for the demo, I'm just going to pick some folders locally. So I've got my C drive, and I'm going to go to Subvolume, and I'm just going to grab a handful of folders that belong on my local disk. I have no idea what's in these folders, but I'm just going to highlight a bunch of folders. And I'm going to go to Destination, and I'm going to create a new destination backup set. And I'm going to choose disk as the type. And I'm going to use the storage group option, which is new to Retrospect 16. And it allows me to back up multiple machines or multiple disks to a single destination simultaneously. So I'm going to call this Robin's media set, or we'll call it, we're on Windows, we'll call this backup set test, or TST maybe, or TS, ran out of room there. And I'm going to go to select and I'm going to choose a local disk. I could choose a NAS device if I wanted to, by going to my network or by entering in the UNC path. But for the demo, I've got a USB hard drive attached, so I'm just going to use that and just say next, next. I'm not going to worry about any of the options for our demo. And I'm going to say OK again. And we'll just wait for my very slow computer to catch up. I'll give it a moment. I'm waiting for my disk to catch up. I'm watching a hard drive disk light flash. Apologize for that. With I'm running on a slow virtual machine, running on a Mac with a slow disk, and it's just being a little bit finicky. So I apologize. While I'm waiting for that, let me go back over here to the backup to the management console, and I'll show a different feature while we're waiting for my very slow machine to wake up. I'm going to go to scripts, and under scripts, I'm going to create a new script. And I can see now that inside Retrospect for Windows, or excuse me, the Retrospect Management Console, we've added some new functionality that we didn't have in Retrospect 16.0 or 16.1. This is new to the Retrospect 16.5 Management Console. Oh, hold on, something's going wrong. Always something, you know, you do a live demo and everything falls apart around you. Hold on.
Although it is better than the other day when California itself was just shutting off power on you. So. Yeah,
no kidding. You know, we had where I am, I had no power for 2 full days, thanks to the California power shutoff. So let me just give you a moment while I wait for Retrospect to open. It's funny because I did this demo myself earlier today, and everything was just hunky dory. So I apologize, everyone. We have a release coming out. What we saw there was an error message that popped up, and it's actually an error message that is being fixed in Retrospect 16.5.1, which is coming out later today, or I think tomorrow morning. I'm going to go ahead and say
I think it's tomorrow morning, right? And so auto updates for anybody running the current version will be available, I think, tomorrow, from what I understand.
Okay. So let me go ahead and just reset this real quick, and I'm going to create new. And we'll just do this very quickly again. I apologize. We'll just call it backup set A demo. And we'll say select. And we're going to go to my computer. Oops, one level up. We'll say OK. Next, finish. OK. And we're just going to say OK. So in a moment, this will populate into, we can see over here that Retrospect is now starting to back up all those machines. I'll come back to this window. I'm going to go to the Retrospect test system. And if we wait a moment, here it is. In the live website, Retrospect is now broadcasting this data to the internet. And it's going directly to the website. And so we can see through console.retrospect.com that Retrospect is displaying for me my live active backups. And those live active backups are now available to me through a web browser. And it could be a web browser that's physically outside of my office. It could be on my phone, wherever it needs to be. I have access to viewing my live backups through a browser. And this can be for a single backup server, or it can be for all of the backup servers that appear on the far left side of Retrospect, or of the web browser. So all of these machines on the far left, I can view them in a single window, or I can view just one backup server like I'm doing now. And I can pause those backups. I can stop those backups through web browser. I can go to the past activities and view past activities in that view that we saw earlier, which was the text-based view rather than a graphical view. So we can see in real time the different things that the Retrospect is doing. But let me go ahead and go back to where I was at earlier. I'm going to go to scripts, and I'm going to say new script. And this is a new feature to Retrospect 16.1 or 16.5. So what I can do is I can pick what sources I want to back up directly. So I can say, well, I want to back up this client, and I want to get this client over here. And I can use an existing media set or backup set, or I can create a new backup set going to a specific drive. So I've got my E drive over here. I can say, well, I wanted to go to this one over here. And we can give it a name like, we'll call this console demo. And we'll create a media set for console demo onto the E drive. And then I can set up a schedule and then say I want to back up every one day whenever the source is available, and say done. And after that script gets created, I can actually go to the Retrospect backup server, and I can go to proactive backup over here, and in a few moments, it'll actually show up inside of Retrospect. So if I go back over here to scripts, let's see, if I go to, I'm going to go drill down to, I'm going to drill down over here. And we can see those active operations. And if I go over to scripts, I can see the one that we created earlier. Console demo was the name of it. Script was untitled. We can see now in my copy of Retrospect that that script now appears. And I can edit that. It shows me all of the sources that I selected. It shows us the destination we created, and it shows us that it's always active. And so now I have two scripts that that exist. One script I created locally within the main Retrospect user interface, and another script I created using the Retrospect web console or web browser. And so doing this is relatively easy, as you saw. It only took a few minutes to create the script. I can click on the script and I can edit the script. I can modify it and change the settings if I want to change those settings, and modify that script. Inside the settings button over here on the far side of the window, I can also see a different type of script window where I can deploy scripts to all of the backup servers that I manage with Retrospect. So if I happen to manage, 10 backup servers, and I wanted to create the same script and then push that script out to all 10 of my backup servers, then I can do that here as well. I can specify the types of sources I want. I can choose a cloud destination if I wanted to, or I can go over here to new destination and specify the type of cloud device I want to use, whether it's Amazon S3 compatible or Backblaze. And then I can tell it how often I want it to run. And I can tell them set my verification types. And then when I click save, it will give me the ability to deploy that script to multiple backup servers. So I can even go over here to where it says deployment. I can check mark which servers I want it to go to and click save, and then it will push that particular script out to all of my different backup servers that I've specified. So that's just another feature. I can create scripts that go to locally attached disks on a specific backup server, or I can create scripts that go out to the cloud that then get deployed to multiple backup servers or even one backup server if that's the decision I decide to make. All of this, like I said, is done through console.retrospect.com, and you basically just create an account on the website. After you create the account, you get a UUID number, and then inside that UUID number, you just add it to the backup server. You go into configure client, or configure preferences, and we'll look at it on the Mac since we haven't looked at it over here yet. I'll bring up the Mac, and on the Macintosh, I can go to preferences, and I'll bring this over, and and then I can go to management, and I enter in my UUID number over here, And then once I've entered the UUID number from the website into the Retrospect interface, whether it's Mac or Windows, it will then allow this copy of Retrospect to broadcast itself out to the website. And then once it's broadcasted to the website, then I can view it through the dashboard window. And then the dashboard, once I do that, then everything I do in that copy of Retrospect can get broadcast to the dashboard. And then as an administrator of my account, I also have the ability to set up users. So I can specify what users have access to my backup servers and that sort of thing. And so if I have, like, let's say I'm a reseller and I've got people that work for me and I want, those on-site consultants to have access to certain backup servers, then I can add those to my organization and manage those. And then we have appearance settings. We have, dark mode and light mode and that sort of thing if that's important to you. And Retrospect brought up the window over here on the Windows side, and under management, this is where I would enter in I would name my backup server, and I would enter in the UUID I want Retrospect to use. And I'm going to go ahead and stop all these operations. I don't really want all of them to run. But you can see it'll run one after another, and it'll run multiple operations simultaneously, even though I only specified one destination backup set, because I used what we call a storage group in Retrospect 16. It allows all of those multiple destinations to run simultaneously to a single storage group. Any questions about this sort of thing? There's quite a lot of people that are participating in the session today, and I want to make sure that I'm giving everyone a chance to see.
Yeah, there was actually a question that was asked and answered. Basically, they're asking if, the general one in regards to whether or not this presentation will be available later on via the web. So I actually put the link in of where all our on-demand webinars are. So we're doing these 30-minute trainings that gives great to Rob. It takes time to be able to show you guys all this. And again, as we get these things, we're kind of targeting in regards to storage groups. If you want to know more information regarding that or remote backups in general, we have some targeted ones. And again, I did paste the link in there for you guys. But again, if you have any general technical questions, fire them away too. So.
Yeah, and absolutely. Every single person that's on this call, if you're not running Retrospect already, you can download a Retrospect trial from the website at retrospect.com/try, install Retrospect, and then you can go to console.retrospect.com and create an account for yourself if you want to. And then through the console, you can view Retrospect, manage your backups through that. Even if you're only a home user and you want to be able to, got Retrospect running on a backup on one end of the house, and you happen to be sitting in your laptop in another part of the house, and you want to see if your backups are running, you can just, pop into console.retrospect.com and, check out whether your backup is actively running and what it's doing. And you can see that in real time. So like here, it says it's scanning. It's, it shows how many files it found, how many files are copied. So you can see all of that stuff through the web browser. And it gives you just easy access without having to go down to the server room.
There's my backup. We actually do got a couple more questions here, so I'll get them in order. In Retrospect 15, we could only run a backup to the cloud. Copy mode was not supported, which makes more sense for a cloud backup. Does Retrospect 16 allow for this?
When you're doing anything to the cloud, you're writing the data in a custom Retrospect data format. You have to create a Retrospect backup set, and that backup set's always in the Retrospect data format. So we don't really offer what we call duplicates to the cloud. Duplicate is designed for locally attached disks and NAS devices, but we don't currently support doing duplicates out to the cloud. Only backups to a Retrospect data format.
Yeah, and again, he was just clarifying again, restoring a couple from files from a backup set from the cloud takes a long time, so copying the file back is very quick. But again, yes, that's why we do support both local and cloud-based storage, and local does do the disk targets. Another question, what tape devices and libraries do you support?
Pretty much all of them. We support up to LTO8. If you go to retrospect.com/devices, you'll see a listing of all of the tape libraries and tape drives that are available for Retrospect. It may be slightly out of date. If you don't see an LTO8 tape drive, it's probably supported even though it's not on that list. But all the tape libraries should be up there and in that website. If you plan on writing to 2 tape drives simultaneously, you will need the advanced tape add-on for Retrospect. And the advanced tape add-on allows you to write to 2 tape drives simultaneously. If you want to write to a tape library, you need to have a server edition of Retrospect. The desktop edition will not work with the tape library.
Another question, in the console in past activities page, is there a way to sort the data listed there?
In the past activities, I think there is actually. Let me go in there.
Great
if
question.
If it isn't, I know it's something that we're looking at. In my machine, just in general, it's just lagging. I don't know what is going on. It might be this the GoToWebinar software that, or the Zoom software we're running is sucking down my CPU and my browser capability. Yeah, my machine is getting a little old, and I'm running a 5-plus-year-old Mac here. Let me see if I can get in there real quick. And I think it does give that capability. For most of you, you're going to find that it's a lot more responsive. My machine is just being just horribly slow. You can see I'm getting a little pinwheel.
Yeah, mine's a little faster. I can click right through everything. So.
But I'm not. Yeah, there. Look at that. I think did I just click on that? I think, or is it still loading? Might just still be loading. No, I'm clicking on these columns. It seems to be sorting them. If I'm looking at this right. I haven't even tried it yet, honestly. You guys, you're the first people that have come up for the demo for me to do. And so I think as I'm clicking through this, it is responding and sorting in different orders. Yep, so I think it appears each time I click, it's doing something. So I think it is doing it. Otherwise it's still loading because I've got all these backup servers on the side and I got this slow machine. So, but I think it is sorting.
And again, if, you know, all these ones too, you know, we're going to be bringing these questions up to engineers, everything else. So, you know, they go, oh, well, we did the first step where you could sort these couple things. You know, again, this is still, you know, there's a lot of new capabilities they're looking to add to this across the board. So
yeah, that's the other thing is the nice thing about this console.retrospect.com is that we can actually make changes to the website and add features without updating the Retrospect application. We can do this on the back end through the website, and then magically you might start seeing new features. And so we're always in the process of doing that.
And there's another question, is there a unique URL for the outside access? If so, where is it located?
It's all outside access, whether it's inside or outside. It's just console.retrospect.com because the website or the software itself is just sending the data out to the web. And so it broadcasts itself out to the internet, and then we have our own server that is tracking all this data for you. And so it doesn't matter whether you're on-site or off-site, it just goes and you can access it.
And one of our partners did say he wasn't able to click on the columns, at least not on his. So it might be on the latest build as well. And again, some of this stuff, as Rob just mentioned, it's getting kind of updated almost real time, and so they're constantly changing and you know, can add these things. So if that says, you know, it looks like it's working, but again, it might be just on the latest build, and again, we'll find out specific.
Yeah, the other thing you can do is, as Werner noted, is there's a search box over here, and you can start filtering things. So if you're seeing too much and you want to filter it, then you can do that. Let me go back over here to. And
he also said he's used on a Mac using Firefox. I know some of the features here. I've had you know, just in general better things utilizing Chrome. So, but again,
so like right here, I double clicked on destination, and you can see that it's all now backups at A in that column. And if I double click on scripts over here, It seems to be sorting everything by scripts. So even though you're not getting a hyperlink button, or it doesn't look like a normal hyperlink, it seems like double-clicking on it is doing it.
Maybe they could pop it up to make it look like one. Another one, given the management console runs on Heroku, is it responsive enough that Retrospect Windows Administrator can use it from a non-backup server machine, the way Retrospect Mac administrators have been able to use the non-web console since Retrospect Mac 8?
Like I said, you should be able to do it from a non-backup server. You should be able to do it from an iPhone if you want to. In fact, Werner showed a screenshot of that in his presentation.
And actually, I have access to it here. And again, as I kick my backup, you can actually see Robin can see my backups going there. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward and click on, no problem. So let's see, another question. What is the best practice for allowing scheduled scripts to run whenever the destination backup location is available? Like an external HD is plugged in. For example, if a backup script is set to run every day, but the drive is only plugged in a couple times a week, will Retrospect just be waiting for that drive as soon as it's plugged in? Also, okay, why don't you answer the first part? Okay.
Well, yeah, let me answer the first part. So if you use a traditional backup script, when you go to automate and then manage scripts, and then you create a traditional backup script, that will fail if the drive is unavailable. So this runs on a fixed schedule, happens at a certain time every day. If the backup drive can't be found, it's going to report an error and it's going to fail. If you use a proactive backup script, the proactive backup script will basically wait until the destination media becomes available. And so if you plug in a drive in the middle of the afternoon or 2 days later or whatever it is, then the proactive backup script will detect that the backup media has become available, and then it'll start using that available backup media.
Okay, and then in addition, also will this backup happen in the background even when Retrospect's not running? How can one monitor this back without launching Retrospect, since doing so with my current version will present a warning that Retrospect's already running? The options presented are to restart Retrospect or to close.
Yeah, it's a good question. The Retrospect on Windows specifically runs as an application, not a service. So when Retrospect automatically opens at a scheduled time, it opens in the background under the system account. So you, as the currently logged in user, cannot view the Retrospect interface through that we're looking at right now. When you go to launch Retrospect, it'll say Retrospect's already running in the background, or it will launch the Retrospect dashboard utility. So when Retrospect auto launches in the background, you don't have complete access to the user interface. But you can still go to console.retrospect.com, and it will see that Retrospect is running, and it will show you in real time what backups are running, and it'll allow you to pause those backups and stop those backups. So even though you can't see the full Retrospect interface, you can still access it through a web browser. My general recommendation is to launch Retrospect on Windows prior to the scheduled backup and leave Retrospect running in the foreground so that you always have access to the full interface. But you will still be able to access it through the web browser. There was a second part?
Let's see. It'll present a warning. It's already running. The options presented are to restart, Retrospect, or to close. So.
Right, which is true. And so if you want to gain access to the complete interface, then yes, you would have to stop the executions and let Retrospect open again, which is why I recommend just leaving Retrospect running in the foreground whenever you can so that you have full access to the interface. But otherwise, with the new console.retrospect.com, it will give you the ability to pause backups, stop backups, look at backup history information, and even create new scripts or modify scripts without having to shut down Retrospect. So you have a little more flexibility, and we are moving in that direction more and more toward an HTML-based interface for Retrospect, which would give you even more complete control, and then eventually allow Retrospect to run as a service with a web-based interface. So that's our ultimate goal. We're moving in that direction, and this is sort of a preview of that.
And a little update, they said the searching is working in Chrome, and now it's working in Firefox too. So it does look like that's working. So it must have been a little, who knows, what's ever going on, maybe a cache thing, who knows, something. Question, so what is the use case for storing full backup sets to the cloud? Performance seems to make it impractical for everything except for a full restore using a ship drive with the backups. Of course, yeah.
Well, keep in mind, even if you do a complete backup to the cloud, you can restore one file or one folder or an entire disk. You don't have to back up, you don't have to restore everything in the case of a restore. You might have a critical file that you've lost off the cloud. But in general, I recommend doing backups to locally attached disks or to a NAS device like a Drobo, and then schedule backup set transfers, which copy the data from the local backup out to the cloud on a regular schedule. Let's say, once a week or once every other day or whatever it might be. But I don't typically recommend backing up the entire network directly to the cloud. Back up the network directly to a disk that's in your physical office, and then use the transfer options to copy the data up to the cloud. If you're dealing with multiple terabytes worth of data, then you might need to utilize a seeding approach where the cloud provider ships you a drive, you copy the data with Retrospect out to that disk that the cloud provider gave you, you ship that drive out to the cloud provider, they upload it to the cloud for you, and then you point Retrospect to that cloud data. So if you're dealing with 50 terabytes worth of data, backing it up directly over the internet doesn't make sense. But if they ship you, some sort of storage device that you can copy that 50 terabytes onto and then ship that disk out to them, and then they can put it on the cloud for you, that's a better approach.
Yeah, and again, all these are perfect reasons why, again, cloud's a great solution, everything else and stuff, but having a hybrid solution to be able to optimize what you're doing locally and to the cloud and stuff, just like archiving, going from, tape or disk, whatever, from offsite point of view, it just depends. And that's why it's important to have a flexible solution like Retrospect that you can deal with, say, okay, right, you have cloud pain points due to the amount of storage needed, the pipeline needed. So you go, okay, great. Maybe we can move to another option and say, let's move all of our local ones, full backups, and target specific data to move off to the cloud. So, but yes, again, there's a lot of flexibility in Retrospect that at least makes whatever kind of implementation you want available to you. Question, we constantly get backed up client reserved when we have proactive backups running. Is there any way to fix this issue from happening multiple times, days a week?
It really shouldn't be happening. Typically, a client reserve message is occurring after the backup has dropped or there's been a failure to a specific client machine. The client reserve basically means that the client control panel thinks that a backup is still running, even if there isn't. And one way to reset it is to open the Retrospect client on that machine, click the off button or uncheck the on button, apply it, wait a few moments, and then re-enable the client, and then that should put it back into an available state. But if it's an ongoing issue, I would definitely recommend contacting support so we can help you troubleshoot it, because the logs may show us some backups of that machine that have been failing and then leaving the client in a bad state.
And then again, just another add-on to what I was saying. Again, the fact that, yes, some, depending on the amount of data moving to cloud targets, it can take a long time unless you got some very large dedicated pipeline and everything else. So again, that's why seeding, large-scale recovery are available. But, that's a more of a pipeline issue, the amount of data being restored and, again, limiting what you're moving there, so say instead of doing a full backup, saying, okay, I got these critical files I want to move off there and I need to be able to restore these if when needed, you can just target specific files and say, I want these 4, these 5, whatever, these 20, 100, whatever up here. And that way I know I don't have to pull the data from this large, backup set across the board. So again, why local? Same reason I have, my RAID array here with the Drobo, my external drive, backup cloud, so just depend on what needs and what thing I'm trying to protect against. Another thing, so from David, let's see, said, so you're saying that Retrospect administrators should have the Retrospect engine running continuously the way Retrospect Mac administrators have been doing since Retrospect Mac 8. And I guess that'd be really...
on Mac and Windows is very different. On the Macintosh, Retrospect runs the process in the background. So on the Mac, there's an engine that always is running in the background, and you can close the interface and open the interface all you want. On Windows, the interface and the engine are combined. They're not separated like they are on the Mac. And so, so for Mac users, they can open and close the interface all they want. It doesn't have any impact. On Windows side, because the two are combined, if Retrospect opens at a scheduled time, it's going to open in the background and you can't see it. That was something that Microsoft changed with, Windows 7 just, Windows 7 and later just doesn't allow the currently logged in user to view things that are going on but under other user accounts. And when an auto launch happens, Retrospect auto launches under the system account, and you can't view that account. And so that's why Retrospect is hidden in the background. But like I said, using console.retrospect.com or using the Retrospect dashboard utility will give you a little bit of window into what Retrospect is doing.
And thank you guys, great questions. One more question here. Can you back up to a computer? Can you back up to a computer or disk that is outside the local network, essentially creating one's own cloud storage location instead of relying on a third-party cloud service? And how does one set this up?
So there's a couple of choices there. That's a good question. The first thing is that we have remote backup capability for source machines. So if you have machines that are outside of the physical network that you want to back up, we have a remote backup feature that allows you to back up those machines remotely. And I'll just go real quickly. I'm going to bring up the Retrospect knowledge base, and I know this doesn't fully answer your question, but let me just bring this up real quick. There's inside the over here, if I go to remote, how to set up remote backup, there's an article specifically for how to set up the backup of sources that are outside the physical network. Okay, now if you're going to write to a destination that's outside the physical network, there's two things to keep in mind. One is that Retrospect supports certain private cloud services. So if you have the ability to set up a private cloud, and I can't remember what the options were, Werner might remember.
Minio and Bashio React right now.
Okay, thank you. So you can set those up as private clouds. Otherwise, you could theoretically use like a VPN and write to a NAS device that's physically outside the network. As long as you can get to it by going to, if I go to configure volumes and go to my network and go to advanced and I can enter a UNC path, if I can enter a UNC path to get to that other share, let's say over a VPN, then Retrospect could write to that shared volume that's outside your physical network. Any other questions, Warren?
And let's see, and I just I'm sharing just FYI the link for the cloud backups there too, so that way you guys have it available to you guys if you want to look at more about, again, under Minio and Basharac about doing cloud backups. That should have gone in there somewhere. Should have been answered. And let's see, let's see, let's see, can you block network addresses from being backed up?
Well, you're only going to back up machines that have the Retrospect client installed on them. So if you don't want to back up a machine, don't put the Retrospect client on it. And if you only want that machine to be backed up on certain days or with certain times, then you just put that machine in specific scripts to avoid it being backed up outside of the preferred window. But we're not going to just randomly back up every computer on the network. You have to install what's called Retrospect client on each machine, and then once you install the Retrospect client, then Retrospect can add that machine to the backup server.
Let's see. What if, let's see, we'll add to that real quick. What if the machine has a Wi-Fi and Ethernet address?
Retrospect is going to default to what the operating system tells us is the default network adapter. And so we're going to use that as the primary network adapter. We also have the ability to bind a client to a specific IP address. So if you want the Retrospect to always use a specific adapter, and that adapter happens to have a fixed IP, then you can force Retrospect through a command line action to bind the client to use that specific network adapter. But otherwise, with 15.6.1 that will be out by tomorrow, we'll respect the default binding. So inside Windows, you can make let's say your wireless adapter the topmost binding inside the network adapters, and then Retrospect the client will latch onto that and then send data through that adapter.
And just ask for a quick summary of Retrospect 16 versus Retrospect 15, the upsides. Yes.
Well, I mean, the big upside is the advanced console support. Also, the addition of the storage group option, which allows you to run multiple backups simultaneously to a single media set. Those were two of the biggest changes that we made with Retrospect 16. I think we probably also added support for new cloud providers, and honestly, I can't remember offhand, but one of the things you can do if you want to look at it is go to when you go to retrospect.com and you go to support, there's a documentation section, and under documentation are release notes, and then inside the release notes are a listing of all the changes that have been made with each update of Retrospect. So if you're running a really old version and you want to see what everything we've done with, from one version to another, it's all right here.
And if you want to get a high level, there is a what's new doc too, which basically just gives the latest, whatever that gives the specifics regarding it.
Yep, there it is, what's new. So you can go to the what's new document.
High level, right. And if you want specifics, then you can get into the details. But yeah, it is sitting right up there on the documentation. So any other questions? Looks like we're all good. Again, if you guys got any other questions moving forward, again, na-sales@retrospect.com or sales@retrospect.com. Again, if you send it to the wrong one, whatever, we'll get it to the right person. If you have questions for Robin, again, it's also obviously available. You can email support or talk to them if you haven't already in the past. And was the address, I will send out the address to get the demo. Said we have the on-demand one here, which is, let me send that to you. So just so you know, with this new Zoom thing, we seem to have two different sets of questions coming in. So I'm kind of toggling between different things. So some seem to come in one place, some seem to come in the other. But there's the link for on-demand webinars. And we'll have this one linked and posted. And I'll make sure that we send out this specific one out to you guys. So any of the specific questions answered as well. But again, the link there has a list of all of them in regards to the storage groups, the new capability with Drobo, remote backups, all these ones we're doing, we're getting them listed up there and available to you guys via website. Any other questions? Look at both sides. Awesome. Well, again, if you guys have any questions moving forward from there, make sure you give us an email. Thank you so much for taking time. Keep an eye out. We're trying to do these things, once or twice a month in regards to some specific subjects that we're being asked about a lot, that our partners are asking about with the latest features, functions, without having to go for a general one. And obviously those are available too on a monthly basis. If you go look, I just want to know from start to finish, what do I need to do? How do I set up backups for Exchange? How do I add clients? How do I change schedules? There are monthly technical trainings available for you guys as well. So look forward to working with you guys. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Robin, thank you for the time in the demo. Watch for the updates. And again, a lot of good things, a lot of cool changes this year. And we're looking forward to all of them. So thank you guys so much. You have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.